What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Unpopular Opinion, and today we're going to be comparing two of the biggest fantasy franchises of all time. Today, we're going to be looking at how Harry Potter is basically Star Wars, but just repackaged with different characters and literally set in a different universe. Now, a few disclaimers before I go full steam ahead. I actually love Harry Potter. It's one of my favorite movie franchises, and Harry himself is one of my favorite movie characters. Now, the title of this video might be a little harsh and a tad misleading, because I don't truly think Harry Potter ripped off Star Wars, but it's undeniable that they have a lot of similarities in more ways than one, and it's blatantly clear that JK Rowling took some inspiration and influence from George Lucas. But before we begin, I humbly ask that you give this video a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It costs you nothing to do so, it's totally free, and just one like can go a long way and really help me out. So if you could hook me up, I'd be very grateful. Also, my goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers by October, so please, help a brother out by clicking that like and subscribe. Now that that's out of the way, let's get right back to the topic at hand.
This is where the fun begins.
As I was saying before, Harry Potter is an amazing franchise, and I'm not here to bash it or hate on it, but when you actually look at it objectively, Harry Potter has so much similarities with Star Wars. On the surface level, it might seem minor, but when you dig deeper, it gets more eye-opening, and when you fully engage, the resemblance is insane. So today, I'm going to be comparing the similarities between the two to show and highlight how Harry Potter is basically Star Wars, but keep in mind this is not a movie versus movie comparison. Now, I am aware that both series follow the Joseph Campbell concept of the hero's journey, and many fantasy stories throughout history have been told using this formula and model. And you could also argue that Star Wars copied Lord of the Rings to an extent, but Harry Potter and Star Wars have the most similarities in my opinion. Let's start out with the series' protagonist. In the original Star Wars trilogy, we have Luke Skywalker, and our hero of the wizarding world is Harry Potter. Luke Skywalker starts the series out as an orphan, living with his aunt and his uncle. I say orphan for now because he doesn't know, and we, the audience, don't know, that his dad is still alive. In the first Harry Potter, we meet our young hero. Like Luke, Harry lives with his aunt and his uncle because his parents are dead. Now, let's look deeper. In Star Wars, Luke lives on Tatooine and is unsatisfied with the quality of his life. He knows he's meant for more and wants to leave the farm, and his guardians actively discourage him from asking questions about his father.
You knew my father?
I told you to forget it.
And they try to shelter him from his past and his true destiny. Now, for Harry Potter, he's in a similar situation, but a lot worse. He lives miserably with his abusive guardians. He isn't allowed to ask questions about his parents and how they died, and he wants out. He knows that he's meant for more, and he dreams of leaving the Dursleys. Furthermore, his guardians try desperately to hide Harry from his magical past and keep him from fulfilling his destiny. Are you seeing a pattern yet? Well, let's keep going. Along the way, our hero is introduced to an ancient type of magical ability that they're to be trained in, and this power or magical discipline is something that their guardians didn't want them to know about. Examples.
That's what your uncle told you. He feared you might follow old Obi-Wan on some damn fool idealistic crusade.
I will not pay to have some crackpot old fool teach him magic tricks.
Now let's talk about the people who introduced our hero to this power or magical discipline. The hero's mentor. In Star Wars, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hello there.
And in Harry Potter, we have Albus Dumbledore.
I should have known that you would be here.
Now, I think out of all the character similarities in both franchises, Obi-Wan and Dumbledore have the most in common. They're both older men who are masters at their craft. They both have a deep, intimate history with the protagonist and his family. They're both wise, gentle, kind, and understanding, but when push comes to shove and danger is afoot and the need arises, they show their skill and power to great effect. And they're both responsible for the upbringing and introduction to their hero's journey. Let's begin with Star Wars. Obi-Wan Kenobi brought Luke to his aunt and uncle at the end of the Clone Wars. He did that for Luke's protection and to hide him from the series' villain. And he remained on Tatooine to watch over Luke to be his secret protector. Albus Dumbledore, much like Obi-Wan, handed Harry to his aunt and his uncle at the end of the First Wizarding War. He delivered Harry to his relatives in order to protect him from the series' villain, so he can keep a safe watch on him until the time was right for Harry to attend Hogwarts. The circumstances of them bringing the hero to their aunt and uncle is very similar. Both of their parents died at the hands of the main bad guy.
From a certain point of view.
and the threat posed by the villains of their respected franchises is still very real. Now, another big similarity between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Albus Dumbledore is that they're not only the mentor of the hero, but they also train the villain of the franchise. I'll get into more details on the villains later. I've been purposely vague on them for a reason, but Obi-Wan was the master of Darth Vader. He trained him as a boy before he turned to the dark side, and Albus Dumbledore was a professor at Hogwarts School. He instructed Voldemort when he attended the school, and he was also the teacher to first meet him as a child to admit him into the school. So not only did the mentors secretly watch out over the heroes while they lived with their relatives, but they also trained the bad guys of the franchise. Another thing that always screams uniform between the franchises, it's the undying loyalty the hero has to his mentor. Whenever someone criticizes or attacks the character, the mentor, our hero is quick to defend him.
Where did you dig up that old fossil? Ben is a great man.
Dumbledore's been driven out of this castle by the mere memory of me.
He'll never be gone. Not as long as those who remain are loyal to him.
Also, the mentor of both franchises purposely withholds information that is crucial to the hero, which causes some mistrust, but all is forgiven in the end when it was revealed that it was for their own good.
Unfortunate that I know the truth. Why didn't you tell me?
What makes you think you can believe anything my brother told you? You know the time you knew him. Did he ever mention my name?
Now, the way the protagonist takes their first steps into the hero's journey, they're kind of different in execution, but story-wise, they're very similar. Luke is rescued from the Sand People by Obi-Wan after R2-D2 tries to deliver a secret message to him. So Obi-Wan brings Luke back to his house, and he reveals his past and some of Luke's past. He tells him how he was once a Jedi Knight and explains the Force. Now, Jedi are basically space wizards, and he also tells Luke about his father and how he was also a Jedi and gives Luke the first real idea of his family. Because Uncle Owen always told him that his father was a navigator on a spice freighter. Of course, Obi-Wan doesn't tell Luke everything about his past, but it's for his own good. Then, he gives Luke a lightsaber, which is basically the symbol of the franchise. It's a tool, instrument, and weapon wielded by the Jedi, and it marks Luke's true beginning of fulfilling his destiny. In Harry Potter, again, the execution is different, but overall very similar in plot. So, the Dursleys try to hide Harry from Hogwarts by not responding to the letters that they've sent to Harry. So, they go so far as to relocate the family and hide from them. But Dumbledore sends Hagrid to get Harry, and in the process, Harry is told about his past and what he truly is.
You're a wizard, Harry.
He also explains to Harry how his parents died, and the information is contradictory to what the Dursleys always told him.
You told me my parents died in a car crash.
A car crash?
Hagrid, of course, doesn't tell Harry everything, but Harry then leaves his guardians to acquire his school supplies, and eventually gets his wand, which is the symbol of the franchise in terms of the wizard's tool, instrument, and weapon. Again, this marks the beginning of him on his way to fulfill his destiny. Does this seem familiar to you? Well, it gets even more crazy. Let's keep digging. In terms of villains, the main bad guy of Harry Potter has a lot of similarities with Darth Vader. Even their names and how their subordinates address them, they're identical. In Harry Potter, we have Voldemort. He's an evil wizard who people are too afraid to speak his name, so they substitute that by calling him the Dark Lord, and he's referred to as Lord Voldemort, which is funny because Darth Vader is a Dark Lord of the Sith, and his subordinates call him Lord Vader or My Lord, very much like how the Death Eaters speak to Voldemort. They're both the Dark Lord, and if you initial their titles, they're both LV. Lord Vader, Lord Voldemort, LV, LV. And their character history, again, it's virtually the same. They were both trained by the mentor of the protagonist, they both have an obsession with the hero of the franchise, and they're both known for their utmost cruelty and even kill their own followers when they're mad or disappointed. Now things are about to get convoluted, so hold on tight. These two villains have identical backstories, and their rise to evil is also pretty similar. Darth Vader was once Anakin Skywalker. He was rescued from slavery by Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan to be trained as a Jedi Knight. Voldemort was born to a witch who drugged his father into falling in love with her. However, when she stopped giving him the love potion, he abandoned her while she was pregnant. So she put her baby up for adoption. He was named Tom Riddle, and he grew up miserably in an orphanage until he was accepted into Hogwarts. This is when he was to be trained as a wizard. Now, Voldemort was evil from the beginning. That much is clear. But Darth Vader, not so much. He fell to the dark side, but again, their quest for power and what the consequences were to them are very much alike. So Anakin Skywalker fell in love with Padme Amidala and married her in secret. This is against the Jedi Code and is very dangerous because romantic attachments are forbidden. Sparing you the long details, it's forbidden because attachment could lead to the fear of loss, and fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. Anakin's feelings for her spiraled out of control when he had visions of her dying in childbirth. He was tempted by the dark side when Palpatine told him of a power that can achieve immortality. Anakin, desperate to learn this power, was seduced by it. That and many other reasons contributed to him turning to the dark side. He wanted the ability to stop people from dying. As a result, he went on a killing spree and helped murder his fellow Jedi and killed some kids. Because according to Palpatine,
Then you'll be strong enough with the dark side to save Padme.
swinging back to Harry Potter, Voldemort wanted the ability to live forever. He too was fearful of death. Not of the people around him, but of himself. So he discovered the secrets of making Horcruxes. These Horcruxes are dark magic that can keep you from dying. They work by having the creator of them split their soul and hide the fragmented portion of it into an inanimate object. If the creator's body is destroyed, then his soul would still be attached to the physical world because the Horcrux containing the portion of their living soul is safe. It was a dark magic and it required killing to accomplish. If you kill someone, you split your soul. Then you could use the damaged piece of that soul to create the Horcrux, which that's exactly what Voldemort did. He went on a killing spree so he could achieve immortality. It's a lot like what Anakin did, but for more evil and selfish reasons. Now, the consequences of these villains going down this road are the same. As a result of seeking this ability, they're permanently disfigured and literally transformed from their former handsome self, marking the death of their previous selves, into the evil Dark Lord who is barely human. For Anakin, this came when he helped Palpatine destroy the Jedi and establish the Galactic Empire. His former master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, confronted him.
Until now you have become the very thing you swore to destroy.
Then a fight erupts where Obi-Wan amputates Anakin's legs and one remaining arm. Then he gets burnt severely, and that's the metaphorical death of Anakin. He's rescued and given prosthetic legs and a suit that helps him breathe and to cover his disfigured face, and is reborn as Darth Vader.
He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
His anger and quest for power led him down a dark path, which caused him great suffering, and he was disfigured and critically injured. Now, his initial reasons for this weren't sinister. His heart was in the right place, but to accomplish what he wanted, Vader did really horrible things. Voldemort also had consequences for making his Horcruxes. He made so many that the damage to his soul began to take a toll on him. His inner evil began to reflect his outer appearance. When he was a boy, he was a handsome young man, but the more Horcruxes he made, the more he'd damage his appearance. The initial changes to him was it looked like he was burnt and blurred, and he was more pale with red eyes, but after his body was destroyed when he failed to kill Harry Potter and was reborn from a dark ritual, his body was inhuman. His nose was flat like a snake, and he was pale, had red eyes, and his eyes were slits like cats. At this point, he was openly referred to as Voldemort, and no one called him Tom Riddle. So like I said, these two basically have the same backstory. So many traits and actions done by the villains make these two virtually the same. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you right now are either totally shocked and never realized this, or you're not convinced and think I'm digging too deep. And you might be thinking that these are typical cliches and plot devices found in virtually all fantasies. You might think that this is all a coincidence because most of these similarities are of characters, not plot. But I have a few more connections to go, and this to me is the one big one that really started me down this rabbit hole when I first realized it. In both franchises, the mentor has an epic face-off with the villain, while the hero watches helplessly. And then it gets to a point where the mentor sacrifices himself for the greater good and lets himself be struck down in front of the protagonist, much to his horror. In Star Wars, Obi-Wan makes his way through the Death Star so he can deactivate the tractor beam that's keeping the Millennium Falcon trapped on board. Luke and Han save Princess Leia and they're making their way back to the main hangar. As Obi-Wan tries to return to the ship, his old apprentice Darth Vader is blocking the way.
I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. We meet again at last.
So the two have an awesome lightsaber fight, and it draws the attention of a squad of stormtroopers. They block the doorway to the hangar, and Obi-Wan is trapped. He sees Han, Leia, Chewie, and the droids back to the ship, but Luke is waiting for him. Obi-Wan, being the wise old master he is, he realizes that if he continues this fight, then Luke, he's gonna wait for him and risk being caught or killed. And the Millennium Falcon won't be able to save Leia and deliver the Death Star plans to the Rebellion, which has the potential to save millions of lives. So Obi-Wan, knowing that this isn't his story and this isn't his hero's journey, it's not about him. He sacrifices himself by allowing Vader to strike him down. No! This forces Luke to abandon him and to take the Death Star plans to the Rebellion. He sacrifices himself not just for Luke, but for the greater good of the galaxy and Rebellion.
You should not have come back.
This also happens in Harry Potter. The setup is different and the timeline is a little tweaked, but it's the same idea. Harry and his friends are fighting the Death Eaters in the Ministry of Magic, and Voldemort himself appears. And he's about to kill Harry when Dumbledore arrives.
It was foolish of you to come here tonight, Tom. The orders are on their way.
By which time I shall be gone, and you shall be dead.
Then the two have an amazing fight that displays their awesome power, all while Harry watches. The end result of this fight is Voldemort flees because he knows he won't be able to beat Dumbledore, and he's seen by Ministry officials in the process. Dumbledore's sacrifice comes when he puts on Voldemort's ring, which holds the Resurrection Stone, and it curses him. He's terminal, and at that point, he'll die in about a year. He also gets wind of a plan where one of his students, Draco Malfoy, has to kill him. So he sets up his own death by having a teacher of his and double agent Severus Snape kill him. He sacrifices himself in order to save Malfoy's soul and for Snape to be in the complete and utter trust of the Dark Lord. Again, the main character is forced to watch, and the mentor gets struck down as he's in shock and disbelief. His sacrifice led the way to Snape being granted the position of headmaster of Hogwarts. This way, he could watch out and protect the students when the Death Eaters inevitably conquer the school. And his sacrifice was for the greater good and saved many of his students. It solidified Snape's position as an agent of Voldemort, which worked against him since Snape was able to protect the students and give aid to Harry and help him on his journey. So as with Star Wars, Harry had to watch his mentor be killed in an act of sacrifice, which was for the greater good, and in the end, helped contribute to the defeat of the villains. But that isn't all. Just because the mentor died didn't mean he was out of the story. In both Star Wars and Harry Potter, the mentor is still able to communicate with the hero and guide him from beyond the grave.
You will go to the Dagobah system.
Of course it's happening inside your head, Harry. Why should that mean that it's not real?
Another undeniable influence Star Wars had on Harry Potter was the fact that halfway through the series, our hero was tempted by the dark side, and there's that quintessential scene where the hero is struggling with his rage and is about to give in, but then he snaps out of it and isn't tempted by the dark side again. Luke in Return of the Jedi had a major struggle between the light and the dark while in the throne room, and temporarily gives in by tapping into the dark side, but when tempted by Darth Sidious, he snaps out of it. In Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, he, throughout the story, is concerned that he's becoming more like Voldemort, and his rage is getting out of control. Then in the Ministry of Magic, he gives into his hate and has Bellatrix at mercy, but when Voldemort appears, he doesn't go through with it. Different setups for sure, but they're cut from the same cloth. They're two sides of the same coin. So those are the major similarities between the two franchises, so now I'm just going to go over the smaller ones. The hero in both franchises, on their journey, they make friends and these companions accompany him through the rest of the series, and they form a trio, which makes up the three lead characters. In Star Wars, Luke's two closest companions are Han Solo and Princess Leia. In Harry Potter, there's Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. Now, the funny thing is these two companions at first, they started out kind of hating each other, and they do nothing but bicker, but as the series progresses, they end up falling in love and forming a relationship. Han and Leia, Ron and Hermione. I feel like we're through the looking glass by now.
You came nothing? You're braver than I thought.
Nice, come on.
Lastly, both Star Wars and Harry Potter have the Chosen One concept. In the prequels, the Chosen One was a prophecy of a Jedi who was predicted to destroy the Sith and bring balance to the Force. The Chosen One was Anakin, who turned to the dark side, but he redeemed himself when he saved Luke from the Emperor and killed the Dark Lord. By doing so, he fulfilled his destiny and was the Chosen One. Harry Potter was also predicted to be the Chosen One by a prophecy which said he'd be the one to defeat the Dark Lord and save the Wizarding World. And as it turns out, that's exactly what he did.
Expelliarmus!
So, those are the big similarities that are definitely undeniable. It's kind of hard to argue that JK Rowling didn't use inspiration from George Lucas and many other artists. But before I close out, I want to share some aspects that can be interpreted as copying or inspiration, but they're mostly nitpicks. So in Star Wars, during the space battles, the good guys have ships that use red lasers, while the bad guys have ones that use green lasers. In Harry Potter, the good guys mostly use the spells Expelliarmus and Stupefy, which are red in color, while the Death Eaters use Avada Kedavra. And that spell, it's a green spell. That's for sure a nitpick, but it's a fun thing to point out that the good guys use red, the bad guys use green. It's just a nitpick for sure, but I thought it'd be fun to point out. Another one is how in the final battle between the hero and the villain, the hero does that thing where he tries to get the bad guy to repent and let go of his hate to spare him from an awful fate that awaits him. They also address them by their real names.
I've accepted the truth that you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father.
Come on, Tom. Let's finish this the way we started it.
And lastly, space chests and wizard's chess. I mean, come on. Well, my friends, that's all I have for you. Those are the reasons why I think Harry Potter is basically Star Wars, only set in another universe where the characters answer to different names. Let me know what you think by commenting below. Do you think I read too deep into this one, or has your entire world been shattered and unraveled and you now see things differently? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I truly appreciate that. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe. Remember, just one like can go a long way and really help me out. Also, be sure to check me out on Instagram. I'll have that linked below. Please give me a follow, and any and all love is appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next Unpopular Opinion.